We're joined today by Principia College head coach Shannon Carney to talk a little bit about the SLIAC women's tennis all-decade team. Thank you for joining us today, Coach.
It's great to be here with you, Brian. It's nice to see you.
You as well. My first question for you, Coach, looking back at this last decade, obviously two programs stand out, Principia College and Webster University. Quite a rivalry. Can you talk a little bit about those two programs' rivalry this past 10 years?
It is very competitive. Pretty much we start the beginning of the year. I assume they do too. It's like we're working for the SLIAC championships to play Webster in the finals. But now it's Greenville's playing great, but usually it's, no matter what, we're going to, take down our arch rival Webster. So it's always been very contentious, but extremely competitive, and the girls rise to the occasion. And over the years, we have had some extraordinary, tough, competitive situations which just have glorious moments on both sides, right? It's really about the girls competing, striving to what they can accomplish, staying focused, overcoming their fears and doubts, hitting the shot when you need to. So it's been great.
Yes, definitely. I've definitely enjoyed, working the tournaments and watching the teams battle for the championship. Some great matches. I'm sure we'll talk about a few of them here coming up.
Yeah.
Looking at this all-decade team list, there were only two players in this decade that won multiple SLIAC Player of the Year awards. And the first was a Principia player, Carly Sanderud. Can you talk about Carly a little bit?
Yes, Carly was a great competitor, and tennis was her second sport because her true love was soccer. And to watch her play soccer was amazing because she was just right in the battle. I mean, she took the hits, she took the ball, she was always in the middle. She played in the middle, so she was in every play, but physically. And that's how she played her tennis. Yet so graceful on the tennis court and just a fantastic competitor, wanted to win every point. And for me as a tennis coach, if tennis was won with her, she would have been able to go much further. She was top at our SLIAC, but maybe somewhere nationally, but it was just, a spring sport. And she also took abroad during her sophomore year to Paris. So she didn't even play tennis at all her sophomore year. So she came back her junior and senior and was Player of the Year 1, and then was very close her senior year.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Division III kind of allows you to be a multi-sport athlete, maybe even in a sport that you didn't play in high school. It also allows you to, study abroad like she did. But can you talk a little about how did you handle a soccer player or, someone whose first sport was soccer and then teach her the intricacies of the tennis game? How do you go about, what are the similarities, or how did you go about converting her into a tennis player during the spring?
Well, I think, she had a lot of great training. So she came as a trained tennis player. So she had some skills, although not competitively. She didn't play much competitively, but she just had a great competitive spirit. So she was willing to always push her opponent around, make them uncomfortable, do whatever it took to win. If it meant staying out there for days, she's willing to do that. And then she had the great conditioning of a soccer player that she could stay out there for days. So just a really focused player, but she already came with a lot of great tennis skills. And then, as our students mature, then they're willing to hear a little bit more and learn a little bit more. So that comes with being there and just growing in their own confidence and grace and everything as well.
Sure. I'm sure that's, great as a coach to see a player do that over the course of their career. My next question, I wanted to move on to the Webster program. They had a couple of players, Marissa Lewis and Monica Behrle, who also won Player of the Years during their career. What do you remember about that pair of Gorlocks?
Marissa Lewis was awesome. She came, I think, in 2012, and we just knew whoever was going to play her it was going to be a long and grueling match. She was just a great competitor, stayed in there no matter what, kept fighting. We had some great matches with her. She helped them win in 2012, and then she was an integral part of their winning in 2015. I think in 2014, she won the Player of the Year that year, and she beat Carly in a night match over there that just went on forever. And she just would not give up and was going to take that match away from Carly, and she did. So that really earned her that Player of the Year award in that 2014 year. 2015, she and Kaylen Kress played a fantastic doubles match that helped cinch their win that year. So Marissa, great respect, and she went from 3 on their team to 1 and was just dominant. Monica was just tough. I think her first year was 2014, and she was just not gonna miss. And she drove our number 2, Kelly Adams, crazy, and just stayed in the point, little unorthodox in her strokes and play, but she mixed up the slice and the flat shot and was just a great mover and a great competitor. Once again, just a fantastic competitor. She was a fantastic competitor. Just really all great girls, super nice, friendly, and willing to give their all on the court. So
you just mentioned briefly there, and that's who my next question about you is, Paige Cooley, arguably one of the most decorated players in SLIAC history, a 3-time Player of the Year winner, one of only 2 players to do that in conference history. What made Paige so special?
Paige was, well, she came in highly trained, so she was already a competitor and a player before she got here. But just, I was to put her focus, her dedication, her commitment to excellence all the time, no matter what, in her own game, but also to bring up the other players on the team, because nobody really on our team was of that caliber of player that she was, but always gracious in her play and her working out with the team members. She was just fierce competitor, right? Was gonna and an aggressive player. I mean, from the baseline, she's always gonna take the opportunity to close out points and to win and to strike the ball hard for winners from the baseline. So she, again, and she only played 3 years because she didn't play her junior year because she was in an engineering program. So she might have swept those 4 years. But yeah, Paige graduated our 5-year program in 4. I mean, it just shows what an excellent sense of wanting to be her best and excel at everything that she did. And she was great to coach. I suppose her highlight, I mean, we tried to get her to the national tournament. She was close. She was ranked locally. I suppose preparing and getting a win over a Wash U player was probably one of the highlights of her career. She did have that freshman year that was like 22-1. So I don't know, that was
right.
And she did have a few golden sets, which are, you don't lose a point.
Right.
Which is hard to do.
Very hard to do. And you touched on it there. I think that's one of the things that I'll remember about watching Paige play is that she went for that winning shot. Sometimes at this level, at the D3 level, you'll just see players kind of try and extend matches and hope for a mistake from the other player. Paige went out and she wanted to control that match, and she would hit those power shots, those baseline shots. She wanted to be the one that got that point. So that's what I'll always remember her with her hard game winners.
She was looking for the put away, looking for the opportunity to end the point.
Right.
So she was setting those up and getting ready. But then she got better at her defense. And so that improves your game as well as you get better at your defense. So.
True. My final question for you today, Shannon, what are some other players on this all-decade list that you really enjoyed watching play on the tennis courts?
Well, I loved Kelly Adams, who was one of my first 4 year that made it all 4 years, didn't go on or abroad. Just a great competitor, great gal, grew up a lot through the years on the tennis team, and loves the sport. And of course, Hannah Andersen, who was another very unique player, but oh man, she would hit any shot needed to win. So you would hear some players on her team going, "Hit the ball, that's not tennis," you know. But she had a game that was very, very, well, I would say like Monica Behrle, where they would just change up paces and really mix up the game to throw their opponent off. And they were both really good. Of course, on this list is Kaylen Carney, which is my daughter. So I think she'll be very excited to hear that, because she came on as, you know, in the eight spot, and ended up playing 3, had some incredible matches with some of the other players, which brings me to Kaylen Kress. I mean, what an awesome competitor she was. And I have memories in our 2015 lineup with Webster when Webster won. She and Marissa won the #1 doubles against Kelly and Hanne, who had beaten them several times, but it went down to the tiebreaker 9-8, like 9-7 in the tiebreaker. We were up, we had many opportunities, and they just kept fighting. That day, I'm pretty sure, goes down in Kaylen Kress's memory as the match of her career, because not only did she win that doubles, but then she had a long match against Kaylen, my daughter, who won the first set, I think, and Kaylen had beaten her easily the first time in the year. And then they had a long second set, and the third set, Kaylen just ran away with it. So her match won the match for them. So, I mean, she won 2 of those 5 points. And I just think that was a great day for her, a great competitor. And then also on your list, we have, you know, our player, Sara Corbitt, just a great dual athlete, fantastic basketball player. Again, only played 3 years because she took a year off because she did basketball. She could have played softball. She played tennis, but what a fantastic, she had like the perfect game. It was so beautiful and so fluid. I want to say Chelsea Foster on your team was just a fierce competitor. Nobody on my team wanted to play her. They knew it was going to be like 4 hours. They're like, "Oh no, do I?" Well, yeah, you're going to play her. She'll be 5 or 6 or 4, but one of you got to play her. So she was just, and she grew so much in her game from her freshman year to her senior year. What a great competitor. What great growth she made in that time. Sarah Rice also had some monster matches against my daughter. Great, loud competitor, but super player all 4 of those years. I mean, drove some of our players crazy. So Marianna Hronek was a 2012, 11. I only had her for a couple years, but love her. She helped establish our team rules and goals, and we still kind of carry her ideas with us. So she's a great player. Actually, on my wall up here, there's a picture of the 2011 team, and I think she put the little sticky note up there. It's still there that says coach's favorite team. So I think she left her mark in my office on a visit. So I think and just a couple of weeks ago, someone noticed, look, that note's up there. I said, yeah, it's been there about 6 years.
That's truly leaving a mark, huh?
Yeah, but she's great. Jessie Stephen Willis, man, we have a point, and she and Natalie was beating her, but Stephanie and she were near match point. It was near our winning point, and they had a rally that went for about 8 minutes, and actually Jessie won that one, but Natalie came through and closed out that match. But it was, I mean, everybody was watching. I mean, you almost stopped. My daughter had played on court 2, Sarah Rice, and them had played 3 games during that one point. So she too was one of those people on Webster team, not going to give up and fight to the end. So, I mean, we both have all those players. Justine Roy, again, played for us, was a great competitor, went on and abroad, only played 3 years, right? Do you know what I mean? So on my list here, I only have a couple from Principia that got to play 4 years because
Right.
they took advantage. And Justine was also a soccer player.
Yeah.
Right? So Stephanie Lass was, again, we called her, she was a tall glass of water that was just so smooth out there. And she just stayed out there. And those, again, were long matches. She and Lena Carlson, who's on this list, our Principia player, had I don't know, it might have been a 7-6, 6-7, 7-6 match that went on for, it seemed like days, but they both competed hard. So Lena Carlson, again, a 3-year player for us, she didn't come till her sophomore year, was a captain, just so filled with grace and love for the sport and love for the team that just exuded over and carried through to everybody. Madison Watts, your number 2 for the last 4 years, was just a great competitor as well. She got to play doubles. She and Sara Rice were just a force. So they were a great team. But yeah, it's been just arch rivals throughout the decade. So
Yeah, just hearing you go over those matches, I mean, it seems like every single one was close to them. So a great rivalry over the last decade. We look forward to the next 10 years in SLIAC women's tennis. Thank you today for looking back on the last 10 years. And we hope to see you on the tennis courts again pretty soon, Coach.
We hope so. Looking forward to the next 10 years.
That's
Hopefully
right.
We'll be up there. Okay. Great to see you.